There's no more polite way to put it. Donald Trump is already violating the plain text of the U.S. Constitution. Welcome back to Democracy Docket. I'm Marc Elias.
And I'm Paige Moskowitz. Let's get started.
Paige, if you wanted to encapsulate just how lawless Donald Trump has been willing to be at the start of his presidency, look no further than his executive order in which he claims falsely that he has the power to undo birthright citizenship.
Right, Mark, one of Trump's first actions as president was signing this executive order reinterpreting who gets birthright citizenship. The 14th Amendment was ratified in 1868. Since then, it's been widely understood that anyone born within the bounds of the United States is a U.S. citizen. But Trump's new executive order says that anyone born inside the U.S. to parents who are not citizens or lawful residents is not a U.S. citizen at birth.
Yeah, but I mean, he can't reinterpret this. Like, let's just start with the facts. The US Constitution says what it says. Okay. The US Constitution says that all persons born or naturalized in the United States. Okay. So all persons born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Okay, what does that clause mean? That means that they are not, for example, the children of diplomats, right? Because foreign diplomats have diplomatic immunity, and therefore their immunity means they are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. But assuming they are not the children of diplomats, everybody else in the United States is subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. So it's all persons born or naturalized in the United States, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and the states wherein they reside. Period. There's just no ambiguity here. Like, there's nothing to interpret. There's nothing to reinterpret. There's nothing to spin. What Donald Trump is doing is he is simply lying to people. Okay. He issued an executive order, which is at best a lie. At worst, it is the first unconstitutional act of what is likely to be a presidency strewn with unconstitutional acts. And he took it knowing that it's unconstitutional shortly after he took the oath of office. And let me tell you, Paige, it is time that the legacy media wake up and stop treating this like a tennis match. The ball goes over the net, the ball goes back over the net, the ball goes over the net, the ball goes back over the net. There are not two sides to this. Donald Trump is trying to violate the plain text of the Constitution. Oh, and by the way, Paige, there's also a Supreme Court case that says what I just said, that is at this point more than 100 years old. So this is an absolute affront to democracy. And it's one of the reasons, Paige, why, people need democracy. I wrote about this in a piece that I published on Tuesday, the day afterwards, about how this is one of the ways that Donald Trump is lying, but you wouldn't know it from the mainstream media. So please, if you're not already, make sure you subscribe to Democracy Docket. The link is above and in the show notes below.
This executive order has already earned lawsuits against it. 22 Democratic-led states and a combination of civil rights and advocacy groups, including the ACLU and Lawyers for Civil Rights, have filed multiple lawsuits challenging the constitutionality of this executive order. And on Thursday afternoon, there is a hearing in one of the Democratic AG's lawsuits seeking to block this executive order as litigation continues.
Right. And that hearing is going to be in Washington state. It's, like you said, one of several lawsuits that are filed. It's actually before a Republican appointed judge. I think he was appointed by Ronald Reagan. But this is not going to be controversial. I see a lot of people on social media saying, but the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court. Look, I understand the problems of the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay. I get it. You and I have talked on numerous occasions about the ideological disposition of this court and how it has fallen short on some issues involving democracy. But this is just not that controversial. This is not an open question of law. The text is plain on its face. The precedent of the Supreme Court is plain on its face. So the Trump administration is going to lose, and they're going to lose badly. And the question is, what is the reaction to that going to be? I think Donald Trump will say, oh, this is just the deep state. I'm not even sure how the hell that could be, but he'll say, this is the deep state and you don't have a country anymore and blah, 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 blah. He'll blather on. The question is whether this will help galvanize what I have been saying we need, which is a new opposition movement, help serve to galvanize that. Because like I said, if Donald Trump is willing to violate the Constitution this blatantly on his first day in office, like hours after he took an oath of office to uphold the Constitution, he's doing this, we really need people to come together, Paige.
Democracy Docket will be covering these lawsuits, keeping track of them. So if you want to stay updated, be sure to subscribe to our free daily and weekly newsletters. Marc, I want to ask you a question, though, about the Republican motivation behind this executive order. If it is so clear that they're going to lose in court, why do it at all?
Paige, I think there are two reasons. And it comes back to something that I have said before. There is proud MAGA and there is scared MAGA. So the proud MAGA people, like, they don't care what the Constitution says. I mean, Donald Trump has never read the Constitution. Donald Trump, remember when Donald Trump said, I've never read Project 2025? No kidding, you never read Project 2025. It's 900 pages. I don't think Donald Trump's read 900 pages in his life, right? So there are the people who are just like, I am for this because I am, totally MAGA, whatever, and they just believe this, and they don't care what the Constitution says. They have contempt for the rule of law. They have contempt for the Constitution. But I think one of the big stories here, Paige, is the second reason, and that's what I refer to as scared MAGA. There are a lot of Republicans who do know this is wrong. There are a lot of Republicans who know that this is unconstitutional. They probably, even in their heart of hearts, think this is like bad policy. Like they wouldn't want this to be, even if it were possible to be, the outcome. They know what Donald Trump is, but they are living a comfortable life, having influence in what is a growing authoritarian movement and party, and they don't want to lose that position of comfort. I mean, we have seen this, throughout history. It's quite sad, but that's scared MAGA. All right, that is most of the Republicans in the U.S. Senate. It is a good chunk of the Republicans in the U.S. House, although a lot of the U.S. House is in the proud MAGA camp. And it's a lot of these governors. A lot of these governors know better. They know better. They know that it's not good for their states, by the way, on top of everything else. Like it's not actually helpful to their state economies. It's not helpful to them being able to keep law and order. But they're scared of Donald Trump. And as long as they are scared of Donald Trump, then there's going to be no movement. I continue to hear people on TV, pontificate about how Republicans in the Senate are very concerned about this allegation. They may be concerned privately, but they're not going to do anything about it. They're not going to stand up to Donald Trump. And so when you come to an issue like birthright citizenship, where he is demagoguing on something in an unconstitutional way, some of them don't care about the Constitution. The others are too scared to say anything.
And if you're Pam Bondi, the Attorney General nominee, and you just spent the past week in the U.S. Senate saying that you're going to uphold the rule of law, you are going to obey the Constitution, and then you get into power, and the first thing the president asks you to do is completely, basically overturn the 14th Amendment, where do you go from there?
Yeah, so I've said this before. I have this theory, and I think it's right, that Donald Trump chose Pete Hegseth and Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard and Pam Bondi, right? That cohort, he chose them for a reason, because those are the people who he needs the most obedience from, right? These are the people who control force abroad, force domestically, and basically the apparatus of the intelligence and investigative arms of the U.S. government, right? So in each of those positions, he wants to put a supplicant who will do whatever he wants. And one of the things that I think that the legacy media has gotten wrong, and frankly, a lot of commentators, even on the left, have gotten wrong, is to somehow think Pam Bondi is not in that group, right? Pam Bondi is just another one of those four, right? Hegseth, Gabbard, Patel, Bondi. She's an election denier. Like, she was a proud election denier. She said all kinds of outrageous things about the outcome of the election in Pennsylvania after the 2020 election. She's not any better than the rest of them. So, she's going to do Donald Trump's bidding because she was chosen to do Donald Trump's bidding. And I don't know why people are struggling with it. Like, everyone kind of gets that Kash Patel's going to do his bidding, Pete Hegseth's going to do his bidding, Tulsi Gabbard, who the hell knows what she's going to do, right? Pam Bondi's going to do his bidding too. And she's going to defend the indefensible. She is not going to faithfully uphold the laws of the United States or the U.S. Constitution. She's going to faithfully uphold whatever Donald Trump tells her to. And if Donald Trump doesn't tell her, but she intuits what she wants, she's going to do that too. And so, we're going to count on these state attorneys general. And as you pointed out, you said it, and it's almost like it passed, Page, without even commentary, that it's only Democratic attorneys general. Like, are there no Republican attorneys general who read the Constitution and are offended by this? None? Not one? You couldn't find one page?
Yes, they couldn't, not at least in these lawsuits. If the Republican Attorneys General Association is planning their own lawsuit, would love to know, would celebrate that, but I have very low hopes that we'll see
Yeah,
the
that's right. I mean, Paige,
AG.
how about this? We will agree that if a Republican attorney general does a lawsuit, we'll do an episode saying it's good that the Republican attorney general is standing up for the rule of law, but they're not going to do it.
No, but speaking of Republican attorneys general, I want to zoom out a little bit because while all of this is happening about birthright citizenship, we also saw actions in the past few days related to the census and citizenship. Now, one of the first actions Trump took was to rescind an executive order from Biden that affirmed that the US Census should count the total number of people residing in the United States regardless of citizenship status. And on January 17th, a couple days before Trump was even inaugurated, a group of Republican attorneys general from Kansas, Ohio, Louisiana, and West Virginia filed their own lawsuit seeking to exclude large categories of immigrants from the US Census count.
Yeah, so this is, again, another place where the Constitution is clear. I mean, the Constitution is clear that you count the number of people, you don't count them based on citizenship. And again, this has been adjudicated in the courts before. This is like not new. And so the fact that they are once again back in court and that Donald Trump is playing footsie with this issue is to be expected, right? And Paige, as you said, these issues are connected. And it's no surprise that Donald Trump is connecting them because he's trying to demonize everything involving immigration. He doesn't care what's in the Constitution. But Paige, on this one, you know, I know your home state is Texas. And on this one, you would think Texas might actually do what's in the interest of Texans, right? Texas actually gained seats as a result of the census counting non-citizens, right? So if you didn't count non-citizens, who would be the losers here? Texas. But where is Greg Abbott? Where's Ken Paxton? Are they? Did I miss something? Are they fighting against this? Are they standing up?
We haven't seen anything from them yet, but this lawsuit's really interesting because what these Republican states are arguing is that the census should not count undocumented immigrants or what they call non-permanent residents. So people on temporary visas, people who may not be here for a long time. They argue that those people should not be included in the census count. And when it comes to congressional reapportionment, those populations shouldn't be considered when you're allocating US House seats and in turn, electoral college votes. Now, these Republican states argue that Texas and California are overrepresented in Congress because undocumented immigrants and temporary immigrants are included in census counts. That gives Texas and California and states like it a boost. These Republican states are asking that a citizenship question be added to the US Census. These categories of non-citizens be excluded from the census count and should not be considered during congressional reapportionment.
All right. Well, look, I mean, you know, Ken Paxton, when you intervene to defend the allocation of congressional seats or the allocation of resources, because a lot of resources get allocated based on the census.
When we see a joint motion to intervene from California AG Rob Bonta and Texas AG Ken Paxton, hell will have frozen over.
Right, exactly. We'll make sure to cover that also. But look, the fact is, this is, like I said, this is all a bunch of messaging nonsense. This is not going to succeed, even with this conservative Supreme Court. But it's important that everyone pay attention, and it's important that you stay educated on these issues. And these are the issues that, again, the legacy media does not bring to your attention that are going to be vital over the next 4 years and beyond. You know, we actually don't have another census until 2030, but these are very, very important issues because they give you a sense of both where Donald Trump wants to bring the government, where we can count on the Republicans, which is not often, the hypocrisy of Republicans, and the central role of the courts in protecting democracy. Thanks for watching this episode of Democracy Docket. Please make sure you're subscribed to its free daily and weekly newsletters, and we'll see you next time.